and justice for all.
What's up? Yeah, we're good.
Silence your cell phones and off we go. Alright. First thing we gotta do is approve the minutes from last month.
I make a motion to approve the minutes.
We've all looked through them. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? The only correction I think is, page 2, that does not look like the, bill paying amounts are right.
$840,000. It's kind of higher than normal.
That was because we moved money and we had to do it through the board audit, to move money from one bank to the other.
Okay, alright, so, alright.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay, so it wasn't just bills.
No.
Good.
Oh,
It
good.
was just-
Wow.
Very good.
Okay, great.
Okay, then, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Thanks, Tom.
We roll. Next item, the treasurer's reports. I know we're waiting on those, we're closing out the year, and so we'll have those next month probably. Yes. Report of offices, codes, Craig's not here, let's jump right into his, see if anything sticks out.
A couple highlights on that. One, Craig is at Syracuse for the Green Codes training today. He said that there was 50 attendees for 25 grants, so as mentioned, we need to jump on that. This Thursday, we have the code book revision meeting again, and prior to that, Craig and I will be meeting. A local law was passed in 2015 saying that the codes owes the board status on zombie houses within the village yearly. Fits and spurts, we're gonna get done this year.
Okay.
So we're meeting a half hour prior to get that done. ZBA, as you guys saw in the bills, conducted their training, so they are up to date on their training for the ZBA.
Doesn't look like anything,
Too outstanding.
too outstanding in his report there.
A couple of houses were added, and they'll be on the March report.
Okay.
You can vote on it or anything?
I make a motion to accept the codes report.
As written.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous.
Let's go.
Okay.
May I interject? The bills didn't get authorized.
Oops.
I make a motion to authorize the payment of bills.
Contingent upon.
I think
They
it's
came in
correct.
to sign them when they weren't quite ready.
What's that?
No, the bills are
They're all
okay.
ready to be signed.
they're all ready.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Sorry about that, guys. Trying to go fast so we can talk stuff with Timmy before he has to get out of here, so.
Appreciate it.
Alright. Next up,
DPW.
DPW. So, you the DPW guy? You wanna,
Mike can.
I'm sitting right here.
you wanna do it?
I got no problem doing it.
Alright.
I think my first statement covers a lot. Winter, as spring arrives, March and April, and the ground is thawing and freezing, and then snowing, of course the dirt is soft. Of course we're gonna plow it up. It does nobody any good, and hopefully some people are listening to this, to call me, give me attitude, and complain about their yard being dug up. It's gonna do no good. We go around every year in the spring and we straighten up everybody's roadsides the best we can. I will tell you, Brentwood Drive's a problem. Brentwood Drive, Preston and Berget are a problem. They're small streets. But these people that call me and stop over to the garage, what good does it do? Okay, short and sweet. I think you've gotten a couple of those calls here, Dan, Don? No? Okay, somebody called Christian then from Brentwood complaining that he didn't get any satisfaction out of me, so he called here. Preparation for tree planting in April. There's a purchase order out there for 27 trees. I apologize if I missed your Arbor Day. I didn't know anything about it. Was that something you were arranging? Is that what was going on?
Yeah, we were trying to arrange something to do for Arbor Day and planting of the trees we have for the spring.
We have never done, an Arbor Day deal. I mean, that's fine if you want to do it. I just
Yep.
need a little more advance notice.
Yep.
Somewhere's along the line, I must have missed the conversations, that's all.
Mike, is 27 trees enough to fill the gaps?
I have actually 35, including what I got over to the garage. We ordered 27. which covers what Cindy had on her list last fall.
Okay.
So right now, we got one list covered, you understand what I'm saying?
Okay,
And then this summer, she was gonna work on another list with me, and we were gonna do the same thing again this fall, pretty much, is plan out
Okay.
another 50 or 60
since we're gonna
trees.
do some reserve monies later for trees, and
Like
it'd
we
be
did
nice
last
to
year.
know
Yeah,
out where we stand.
Well,
Okay,
Do
we
we have
also-
all, oh, pardon.
I'm sorry, we also did increase the
We
tree
did.
cutting budget by quite a bit
I
this
think you
year.
did increase it. I mean, I had also asked to increase it, but
Yeah.
it looks like you did.
We did,
we did.
yeah. Go ahead, Tim.
Do we have the location solidified as to where these 32
We
trees
have
are going?
locations, Phil has just started, you know, it's hard to mark them right
Sure,
now.
yep, no, I
But
don't,
as soon
don't
as
wanna
the weather
mark, I
breaks
just
up-
need to know we've got the locations picked that we wanna put them in.
The ones that I have ordered, we have locations picked. Now, if you have other locations, that's fine, give them to me.
Yeah, no, it's,
Because
cause,
what'll happen is, just like last fall,
Yep.
there'll be people that won't want them. You know, and I'm not gonna go around and around, they don't want them, they don't want them, that's
Mm-hmm.
fine, you know?
no, cause what I figured is as long as we know the locations, that's half the problem right there, because the way I see it is if the weather cooperates by the end of, April,
April.
like I hope it is, we could, have these placed and possibly pre-dug the holes during the week, right before Arbor Day. Because what the plan is to have my volunteer group come and actually plant them on a Saturday, right after Arbor Day.
The only thing you got is with Dig Safely, I'm sure you're
Exactly,
familiar with.
yep.
And you only got a certain amount of time there, you know,
Right.
to get them dug, and then it expires. And then you run into,
I think you get a 2-week window.
yeah, it's 10 days, I
10
think now.
days, okay,
Yeah.
yep.
And, if we dig it and we just leave it and plant, the next day, we gotta cover everything.
Exactly, so I figure I can come up with some things to cover the holes up
Plywood or
with.
something.
Yeah, and then, cause what we do is in the electrical world, we take the, electrical spools and we knock the ends off and we cover the holes with those. Maybe put a cone on it.
Maybe we should, I mean, I'll do it however you wanna do it, but let's go ahead with what I've got planned for the spring so far. And then maybe this fall and next spring, we could really plan on this a little bit better and get trees, or you haven't got any trees ordered or anything for it, other than what I've got ordered, right?
Right, no, the plan was to plant what you had,
Okay.
I mean, that's still 35. How many volunteers you got coming, Tim?
like 10.
So,
You
if
got-
you dug 30 holes, or,
That's a lot.
well, right, just Thursday, Friday, and then your guys could plant them on the weekend and fill them all in?
Yep.
Because that's really
That's the idea, yep,
3 trees per,
yep.
Well, you need a truck with mulch and some extra topsoil and.
Well, yeah, you
cleaning up.
do
I mean,
need
you
all
need
that
some
stuff. I mean, he's got a
vehicles.
good point.
right?
Um,
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
It's
Are
not
you
just
10
a
people,
couple guys in a pickup
are
truck.
you sure they're gonna be here?
Yeah, the notice has gone out to everybody involved with our group, and so far we're looking at approximately 10 guys,
Okay.
so.
Of course, the other concern I got is drawing my guys in, and, you know, we're coming through a pretty rough winter as far as overtime, you understand what I'm saying? So we draw my guys in April again, here we are, you know, into a Saturday and a Sunday, filling in holes, you understand what I'm saying? You know, I'll do it however you wanna do it, you know?
I'd like to interject here. I think we can do this. We just need to plan it out, and we're not gonna plan it out right here during this meeting. So we'll get offline, Tim, Mike.
Yeah, why don't you, Tim, why don't you work with Mike on it, and then try to come up with something, and then shoot us what your thoughts are.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Talk back and forth with Phil too, a little bit, cause you know Phil's the tree guy,
Yep.
anyway.
Yep.
And, you know, he's aware, and in fact, I asked him if he knew anything about you and Arbor Day, and he didn't know nothing either, so.
Yeah, well,
I
cause
kind
we haven't had anything solidified when I've talked to Phil about it.
Right.
I only briefly gave him a little notion that we were gonna try it.
Well, the only thing I knew was, I got an email from our boss saying that Arbor Day, let's start making plans for trees. Okay, where'd this come from, you understand what I'm saying?
Yep, yep,
Yeah, we can get together and see what we can come up with, I mean, that's fine with me.
okay,
I mean, part of what has to happen, and that volunteers can do, which would be great, is I wanna get to the point where, once a tree gets planted, we talk to the person who got the tree and give them information about the tree, how to care for the tree, when they need to water it, all that sort of thing, and so that's more like
Especially-
an outreach thing.
especially in the spring.
Yeah.
With us planting them in the fall, of course, they had gone to sleep. Now we're coming into, as it unthaws, they're gonna get plenty of water right now. They're gonna be all right off the bat here in the spring. But then they're gonna need to water them if they see a problem coming up, through the summer here.
So then we'll have the 35 new trees, and then all the ones we planted last year, and also everyone will need to be talked to about that stuff. So that could be part of,
My plan was just, the ones we already planted, just to mention it, with the Homer News and et cetera, that keep an eye out for the new tree that's planted out in your yard, if it needs water, please water. And of course, we've got the water truck, we can go around and check them too, so,
okay.
Mike, do we have any gator bags?
yes.
Those are the bags that
For the
go
deer-
around the tree and
Or
then,
for the,
yeah.
We can't have that many of them though. How many we got?
I don't know, there might be a dozen over there.
Yeah.
More than none.
All right. Boy.
Moving along, you all know by now, it's a continuing problem with the trash cans. They're still getting left out by the side of the road. I got places right now where I got furniture and chairs, et cetera, sitting out there. So I brought in a little form, down in here on Monday. I gave it to Dan. I mean, I don't mind going and knocking on their doors. I want the address, I want them to sign, make two copies of it so that we've got a copy, they get a copy.
Yeah, because it's not one of those things where if they put out a chair and you warn them, then you take it back in and they put it out 2 days later.
Yeah.
That's not another warning. That's the fine.
Right.
Can I jump in there real quick, Mike? I had a call from Marianne Evangelista, 1 Preston Drive.
Oh my God, here we go.
I know, but she called me, I said, I'll bring it up and see what we can do.
That's a family problem there. The brother doesn't want the sister's trash can out, guys. She leaves it out all the time. So the did he call you or just her?
She,
Yeah. Well, he came to me and wanted us to go say something to his sister. Now, wait a minute, Tony. You guys need to handle this within yourselves,
that's kind of what I said.
Well, we did. We went over and talked to her.
Yeah. Police department went over because I kind of get.
She's got some medical issues.
She
Oh,
does, she
boy.
said she has 2 heart attacks, a quadruple bypass, and breast surgery. So, what I did is, I said, if we need to, I'll come over and take care of them for you. It's not that far.
And we have told her that too, but then Tony gets into it and he doesn't want us coming over there. And we don't plow his road right, we don't get too close enough to his yard. But then when we do get close enough to his yard, we're digging up his dirt. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Goes
he's
from one
calling
thing
me
to
over there
another.
to
Yeah.
show me where you gotta get that.
Good boy.
That's a tough one.
The
Anyways,
2 hour,
She
the
said
2
she
hour,
was being cited by codes as well. I said, I don't know, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, well, that is eventually if people refuse to bring them in, it's gonna become a fine, but we have always said, if there's extenuating circumstances for elderly, people who are sick, et cetera, then we will figure something out.
exactly.
So,
And that's what I tried to tell him, but then of course he's gotta keep going on and on and on about everything, which I'm sure you're
I
gonna
know,
into.
but it's his freaking sister, why don't he do it for work? I don't even get it.
well, that would be the question I would
Yeah.
Oh,
ask.
you get it. You understand.
The 2 hour parking signs for in front of the library are being made, and I did get Jimmy. Jimmy's doing some of these
Okay,
signs.
good.
He's doing those and the compost site signs.
Okay,
If you notice in there, May 12th is our Amnesty Day. I wanna make sure you know, but Mother's Day is May 13th this year, so that gives us the Saturday all day for our amnesty, and then we close it Mother's Day, so that should work good.
so, you'll get me a
I
sheet
have-
for the Homer News for Amnesty
Yep,
Day?
I have it, it's all made up, we just need to change the date on it, yeah.
And how many dumpsters did we fill last year?
4.
And so,
We filled 4, but then they come back 4 times.
really?
So you get a lot, and to me, it's okay, cause it's
Yeah.
not out on the road
Yeah,
or something.
it's,
so.
yeah, however many dumpsters it takes as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned.
Yeah, they came back, they took the 4, emptied them, each time they emptied one, they brought it back, so, 8,
Okay,
so you
Good.
do get a lot over there, so,
that's good. And there's no electronics at that one, right?
Right.
TVs and stuff?
right.
No TVs?
what about old lawnmowers, stuff like that?
Yeah, that's considered metal, that's
Okay.
fine, we put it in a metal dumpster, yep.
I did have somebody ask me about that.
Appliances, we were putting in the dumpster, I think that I got all that on the
All that-
amnesty
yeah.
sheet.
Okay.
so.
Good.
We'll put it in. We'll really advertise it good.
The street paving, I think I mentioned it last month, I do have the quotes for the street paving. It's North Cortlandt Street, North Fulton, Henry Street, High Street, then we're gonna do a couple parking lots. But the problem I got right now is NICEAG has appeared. And I just got a nice little map, and I'll be glad to show it to you guys, but it's a great big wall map of where they're gonna be digging this summer. And of course they're digging on Cortlandt Street, of course they're digging on North Fulton. So we're probably delayed till the end of the summer again for paving, so,
Okay.
just so everybody knows.
Which parking lots do you recall?
Griggs Field is one,
Okay,
okay, and the front of my yard is the other.
okay.
I don't know if you've seen our guys, but of course we haven't been out there this week, but we are trimming some of the trees that the people are, you got residents that are complaining about the tree limbs being in the phone lines, and the phone company won't trim. I'm sure y'all know that, you know that by now, I'm sure, so. We're trying to do some of it, and then when we get Steve straightened around, he'll do some of it. And that's another subject, but we do need to cover that contract. I do have a copy of it for the tree trimming and cutting. I mean, I realize it's gotta go out there, you know, to get bids on it. I'd kinda like to stick with Steve though. I'm pretty happy with him. And I know, I'm pretty sure it got extended 2 years ago was all you did to it.
Yeah, we'll have to look at that.
Probably
the
have
right
to have
thing.
Dante look at
That
it.
may be the
Yeah.
right thing, but we need to look at it.
All she did is extend it. I know it was a 2-year contract and then she extended it. And Stubby does this to us every 2 years, just so you guys know. Probably shouldn't be mentioning names, but anyway.
Streetlights, Mike?
A lot of the street lights we got addressed last month. So far, we're doing pretty good. I haven't heard any more from you as far as what's going on with the street lights and
Yeah,
National Grid, but anyway,
well, we're gonna talk about it. You wanna talk about it right now?
yeah.
Tim wants to
we're
talk
on the
about it.
street light tip.
So I went to a seminar that Nikon put on last month about the street lighting, and everything's changed since the last time we talked about it. And namely, National Grid was pretty much the only utility in New York that wasn't playing nice when it came to this stuff, and so Village of Marathon might get charged radically different from what the Village of Homer would get charged for their lights. And there were a lot of complaints, so the Public Service Commission stepped in and got involved, and now they're basically having to come back with a level quote for everybody, and it's pretty much going to be less than what it's been before. And because before we were told with National Grid, once they give you a quote, you got to negotiate with them. So, but now it'll just be what it is. So we'll get that soon. And the funding, I think, is getting more attractive. We're going to be cash flow positive right from year one, which we weren't with most of them. So, we're also going to make sure that we have 2 or 3 test lights installed in the village and leave them up for probably a month for people to see them and make comments, and so that we can get some feedback, and then put the rest up, and then there's a month sort of if people want them aimed differently or change the color pattern or whatever. We're gonna make sure that they're 7-pin compatible for 5G rollout, because we're probably gonna try to roll out 5G in the village, maybe get some free or very low cost Wi-Fi for all residents of the village, and that's probably 2 years out. So the next step is we need to do an RFP. Because we also want to wrap in, we can do other green energy upgrades, and so we're going to do the boilers at the fire station and at the DPW garage. And if we have any other interior lights, we can wrap those in to all of that. And so it's a matter of, I don't want to write the RFP. And so Central New York Regional Development and Planning Board, this is one of the things it's a service they provide for free, which is this, they will help us write the RFP based on what we want, and then we send it out. People respond, and then they'll also analyze all the responses and kind of give us their breakdown as to what, you know, they're not gonna tell us this is the best one, they're just gonna tell us, you know, they're just gonna break it down for us in terms of cost and benefit and all that sort of thing. And that gives us a better way to judge which one to go with, and so.
Alright, so I had received, some information, and it reads like this, it says, it appears the National Grid electric rate case is on the agenda to be approved at the Public Service Commission meeting tomorrow morning, 3:15. This proceeding includes changes to the National Grid's approach to the street lighting infrastructure buyback process, as well as street lighting electricity tariffs. Upon further reflection, it may be the best for the village to consider the New York Power Authority's Smart Street Lighting New York initiative. Through this program, Cuomo has set the goal of retrofitting half a billion streetlights to LED technology by 2025. So that's why I was kinda really wondering,
Oh, about the NIPA thing.
yes, why we're not going in that direction now.
So, right, cause it was actually NIPA that gave the presentation, so let me pull up the email, because what I had to do was get clarification, the difference between what CNY RDP does and what NIPA does and everything, and so let me see here.
And I definitely don't care which way we go, as long as it's the best way for the village.
Yeah,
So,
cause,
that's why I was just really concerned about it.
let's see. NIPA has an LED streetlight program for municipalities interested in purchasing their streetlights from the utility and converting to LED. They offer a turnkey option where they provide project design and actually go out to bid on behalf of municipalities for the remaining portions, and they actually already have done so for the materials already. When they have a commitment for the project, they would then release an RFP for the specific project, the labor, and other continued maintenance portions. NIPA also offers financing options and is working to bundle municipalities together to achieve economies of scale. NIPA is one possible option to continue. There are other vendors such as Honeywell, SmartWatt, Wendell, etc. that could provide parts, labor, maintenance, and financing options. Although if the village is working with one of those vendors, then the village would release an RFP. NIPA does not respond to RFPs since they work through their own RFP process. Typically what we see are slightly higher estimated costs with NIPA, but they take care of the RFPs and therefore provide added convenience for municipalities. Also, these other vendors often have minimum threshold requirements for project sizes and do not bundle projects together, so it may be necessary for the village to work with another community to meet those thresholds, whereas NIPA helps to do this for communities. The assistance we provide at the RDP through CNY Bright Lights is to make municipalities aware of the options. We also provide cost benefit information, as you are well aware. We have a relationship with NIPA and a number of other possible vendors and have discussed the assistance we could provide. So, yeah, I mean, I don't think Gene and Danforth, I don't think they go through NIPA, and I'm not sure if NIPA will allow us to bundle the boilers.
Okay.
Only because it's a Cuomo lighting thing, and with that we gotta check. And I actually emailed NIPA the day I got back from that conference and said we were interested, and I have not heard back from them.
Okay.
I'm sure that everybody else in the room emailed them too, because everybody's ears were up. So, but we'll reach out to them again, because I think that, I think the question I would wanna ask first is the boiler question.
Sure.
Do we have a ballpark? Do you give me a ballpark, Mike, on what the boiler replacement might be for your place?
Oh, for my place?
Yeah.
It's just a small boiler, so you're probably looking at maybe $5-6 grand.
That's not too bad. The fire department?
That's gonna be big, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 boilers
There's
down
3
there,
boilers
3 big
there,
ones, yeah.
They're old,
I don't
so
know
they'll
what that
probably be
was.
smaller than
So then
a
you're
boiler.
looking at probably 25, guesstimate?
He's making the face that says 25 is low.
Yeah.
I really don't know, but I know that they're good sized boilers, and they
You're
were
probably looking at that much on one.
put in quite some time ago. I mean, they replaced the actual coal-fired boiler that they converted to gas. So,
They're so much more efficient now. I don't know.
yeah, those are
It's not that bad.
So, we'll see if they'll do that.
years.
Okay.
maybe if we do separate them, there's another funding area that we can look for to get the boilers funded if we have to do those separately. But the NIPA thing certainly was attractive to me in the turnkey
Right.
part of it and the things that they offered.
Because it's a
So,
very smooth, easy process.
Yeah. Yeah, they pretty much do it all.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure with her that NIPA wasn't just sort of like another vendor that was trying to just sneak in and grab us before we looked at other vendors, you know what I'm saying? I wanted to make sure that they were a service, providing a service like CNY, Regional Point
Okay.
Development, so
Okay.
I'm totally fine with going with either one.
Just whatever's gonna provide the best benefit to us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
hopefully NIPA will get back to me soon.
Done for me.
Do you wanna reach out to NIPA?
I would absolutely, you gotta,
Yeah, I will,
you just forward it to me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yep.
One quick question.
yeah,
You covered a lot there. Are we gonna take charge of maintaining them, or?
yeah,
Okay,
we're gonna own them. So we're gonna maintain them, and so we're gonna need to come up with a maintenance contract. And it's one of those things where the first, I don't know, I
I
think the
guess when I
first
say
year.
we, is the street department gonna take care of them, or are you gonna do a contract?
Contract,
Okay, like what you've got with,
yeah, yeah,
For, you mean for the lights?
yeah. It probably would be, you know,
I
we
know there
gotta,
was some talk at one point of, us doing them. And
No,
if
no.
that's the case, I mean, I just wanted to bring up a couple other things that we would have to do.
yeah, no, we would want an electrician
Okay.
with the proper
Yeah,
training
we
and
would
equipment.
need somebody, we would need to train a couple of guys, we'd need
Yeah.
a truck, okay.
No, we're not gonna do that. No, but even with a maintenance contract, it has to be cheaper than what we're paying now.
Yeah.
You know, what are we paying, $80,000 a year?
88.
Yeah, just to maintain them and,
Yep.
so,
Preble is paying 80,000. And
Yeah.
so they may join us to get quantities, I don't know. That's close.
I don't know.
Like you
if-
said, you may
Yeah,
not
we
be able to.
have to find out
you
if
know,
we
you
can
don't know.
bundle with them because they're not.
Well,
contiguous,
if
but-
you needed 1,000 or something, they would probably have 400.
Yeah, well, it sounds like NIPA, from what Amanda said, is that NIPA does that for you.
Okay.
They find, like, if there's 5 small municipalities, they wait until they get all 5 signed up and then they go out.
Yeah, cause I talked to him the other night, and he seemed very interested, he says, we're paying over 80,000 for light. in Preble."
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, so they're paying almost what we are for 1 square
And then
mile.
if we have more volume, then maybe the lights will cost less.
And you're,
The last thing I had on my, report real quick is, I'm sure you all know that April and May, we're out there cleaning, we're out there trying to get the parks open. We're also trying to break all our winter vehicles down, so April and May usually becomes a very busy time for us, so.
Right.
I got some other things, but I think you've covered it. You guys got any questions for me that you'd like to know about?
Yeah, Mike, you see those yellow "We Build Houses" signs?
Those yellow what?
"We Build Houses" signs? They're
Yes,
like-
I have seen them.
Yeah, you can grab those,
Take them
anytime.
down.
take them down.
Yeah, pretty much any signs that you guys see that you
Yeah,
know
we
shouldn't
pulled
be
some
up.
pink ones off a couple poles on Albany, I said, but I see they appeared again.
I got one last week up by my place and it was back the next week.
Is there anything you can do about?
If you could send those to me, or unless you have a use.
But if there's a
They
phone
got a phone-
number,
they got a phone
yeah, if they got a phone number to figure out who they are, can't we find them? Dante says, yeah, sure. It's not mine
No,
personally.
actually, it's the utilities property.
It's utility.
The village.
Yes, it is. It's, Grid and it's, Verizon's.
But you can zone it where.
But not when
they're
not when it's in
allowed
the right of
the
way.
village.
Some of these signs are not on the poles, they're in the ground.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. A lot of-
okay.
lot of
Okay,
Verizon.
okay.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a homeowner.
When I went to the meeting, they talked about signage and that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, so you can actually have it in the zone for how long, how big. You know, you're allowed to put a sign on your own property
But not in the right of
for
way.
so long,
Yeah.
but not in the right of way. And, you know, like you have a week after, say, an election to take them down, that kind of stuff, and
We
that
have
can be
it
in the
in the,
zoning.
we already have it in the zoning, it's already in the code, it's the same one that
Yeah,
says you
there's-
can't have, it's the next paragraph down that says you can't have them on the telephone poles. It is for personal gain, it is not a political sign, They need to go, so,
Okay.
You're
Sounds
not
like a
even,
code
you're not
issue
even allowed
now.
to have a street sign
well,
up.
it could be.
I know,
I mean,
I
it is a
understand that, I'm
code
just
issue,
saying,
but
we
I
have
mean-
enough rules.
We'll take
to
them, we'll,
make sure it gets done.
Mike and his guys will take them down, but I think we ought to start
And then
finding.
Dan can make a phone call and let them know
Yeah, call
that,
whatever the number is on
and
them.
tell them not to do it again, or we will, and then we'll annotate it, and we'll let Craig know, and the next time they pop up a sign, we'll find them.
Yeah.
It's not the homeowner presumably that's putting up. those.
No, it's
No,
not.
their organizations are.
They're not putting them, they're not putting them in front of people's houses, they're putting them,
In obscure places where
Yeah.
the traffic sees them.
They're putting them in front of houses too.
And
are they too?
they're-
Yeah.
My
Well,
parents
wasn't it by
have.
your parents'
Yeah.
house? I saw one of the.
Yeah.
They're
Yeah,
putting
that
them
one
in
can
between-
go too.
High volume.
I get it, but
They're
yeah.
putting them in between the road and the sidewalk, which
Right.
means that they're not getting homeowner permission. And,
Well, between the road and the sidewalk is our property.
and it's our property anyways, so.
So they're trespassing. Isn't that quite right?
yeah, so we gotta start, cause that's nonsense. Nobody likes to see
A couple
those.
other quick things for Dan and Don. I know you'll get the phone calls here. 25 Park Street's got a storm drain that needs to be cleaned. I'm well aware of it. I gotta wait for the ground to dry before we can even get out in there with any kind of equipment to clean it. I'm not gonna dig her yard up just 'cause she thinks it's gotta be cleaned right away. Durkee Ave, you guys know we got the permission from DEC to dig over there last October. And then it started raining and snowing. So the guy out in the corner of Prospect and Durkee is having a fit because we haven't dug it yet. Well, it's kind of silly for me to be digging water right now. So as soon as the water level drops, it thaws, the water, we'll dig that. Okay? So when these people call you, you know,
Direct
You-
them to
you
one of
understand
us,
what I'm
we'll tell them. Yeah.
the guy on the corner of Prospect and Durkee was in Florida, and his son checked his house to check the water level, and he called me from Florida to say that it was getting close to his house, just so you know.
Yep,
Got it.
noted.
Gas pump log sheets, are we anywhere as close?
Getting there.
Okay. I'm getting people asking me for gas. He hasn't asked me yet, but he is the main person right behind me that needs the gas, so.
They'll be, they're individual sheet for each time you get gas.
Yeah.
They'll be done.
Weren't we gonna do yeah, individual for each vehicle, but then a regular log too, so we could keep track of it? I can do that in a notebook, but it's just that I'm gonna need it here kinda soon.
Alright. What I was looking at was a two-part form
Right,
that they, each time they get gas, they peel one off, give one to you, and keep one in the
Right.
car.
okay.
So we gotta get some, I just haven't had a chance to, I gotta do that in
Okay,
the
okay.
water.
I know everybody else
water
probably wants to
bill-
get out
water
of
billing
here.
card.
Syracuse game is coming on too, and I'd kinda like to get out of here.
Yeah, well, yeah, Tim, we're trying to get through, as much for Tim as we can. Alright, anything else?
I got some other stuff, but hopefully we're gonna go into a little.
We will.
session.
I make a motion to accept the DPW report.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Fire department. Yeah, that was a good job, on that fire Saturday morning, Malin,
Oh, yeah.
you guys.
It's dumb, cause I wasn't here, I was on my way to Syracuse to teach a class, but I can see it right from here, so.
Yeah, no, it was, I couldn't believe it because, you know, I heard it and then I heard about it and I saw the thing and then the next thing I knew,
Yeah.
all done.
Nice job.
Very good.
I didn't even know it happened until I saw it on Facebook.
And yeah, definitely commend, the rest of the department, over 1,000 alarms.
It's gonna be pretty damn close to that,
Wow.
highest it's ever been.
So,
We're at 900
$9.95 on it.
960 or something like that, it's close.
Wow.
I don't know, 970, 980, it's up there. We still got a couple of weeks of our fiscal year left, so.
That's great.
Alright, anything else?
Oh, yeah, I have several. Sometime I need to get with you and actually schedule a time to go and do the bridge routes that we talked about.
Yep.
So I need to do that. There were, and I didn't think about it, I forgot to put in the report, we had some folks, man up the night of the storm that we didn't really get. And they were there from like 11 o'clock to 7 or so in the morning. I talked to Hal, he said they'd take care of the food, so if they went up to Kevin's place, had breakfast, there should be a bill in there for that.
We
Yeah,
already
I
saw
also
the
signed
bill.
up. We
Yeah,
paid it.
it's taken care of.
Okay. I held off on a purchase order you guys signed, just so I let you know that I'm gonna send it in, wheels for our, turnout gear racks. As I didn't think we were gonna be able to pay for it out of last year's, so I'm gonna send that purchase order on through now so we can get those, coming. A question on codes, and it arose because of this fire. Who's doing what?
For,
After there's a fire, that used to be Kim Fairchild. And I didn't hear this firsthand, but they said, Cody says it's not him, and it was never Craig.
this is the first I'm hearing of it, so we'll have to get that.
We need to just get that squared away so that they know and we know who's the after fire code enforcement officer, because there's different things for that.
No doubt.
That sounds like a Cody Craig discussion that has to happen.
Yep.
Because it was Kim Fairchild, and that's the position that Cody's filling,
Yeah.
so it should be him.
Yeah, yeah.
So, we never called Craig for it, and we called Craig for the other stuff, but, so we just need to get that figured out. The other big thing, if we can, the exhaust extraction system. I gave you guys some stuff to read about the diesel, fumes. And I have talked to the, folks at this, company, and I was a little bit off in the numbers that I did. Cause I didn't read the paper the way he had actually written it. We can lease this, for 8 years for $16,220 a year. The cheapest way to do that is we pay the first payment when you sign the lease, and then you've got 7 more payments of $16,220. We can defer it. We can defer the first payment, and then everything else, it becomes 7 payments, and that makes it $19,299 a year. So if we lease it for 8 years, the original price is $106,008. It would end up costing us $129,760. If we defer it, however, it's $134,603. By leasing, we don't have to go to bid. The reason I asked about a deferment was because we didn't have this information. I didn't get it because I tried to get these folks, so we didn't have anything to budget with. I don't know if there's money in the general fund, whether this is something that we could say, we've got the money, we can go ahead and do this. I don't know, Hal, if you were there for the press conference when we fired the diesel trucks up and moved them out. I mean, the stuff stinks the station up, and our guys are breathing that. So if there's some way that we can look at, being able to say, yes, go ahead and do this and get the process started to lease it. At the end of the 8 years, we pay $1, we own it, so, on the way and get something in there so that the folks aren't breathing the diesel fumes every time we fire up one of these diesel
To me,
trucks.
man, this is something that needs to be done as soon as possible. For the sake
Well,
of-
that's why I tried to look at all the different options, not knowing what money might be available to be able to try to do it like now if we can. So I think the best way, it's the cheapest, and if we have a way to come up with the first payment of $16,220, when we sign it, and it would take a little bit for us to get all the lease and the paperwork and all that going, so, but it probably would be out of this year. There may be some funds that, if we squeezed hard on our budget to be able to come up with $2,000 or $3,000 maybe out of the chief's budget. I don't know how Tim sets, I don't know how that's gonna be, but I know we were really, really close this year if we weren't just over what was budgeted.
Yeah, and we
But-
squeezed it already pretty hard this year, so, but I'm in favor of this. I've talked with you about it already, Malin,
Right.
and I think it's important. And
Do we have any kind of reserves at all that could be used for this?
we've got money in different reserves, and then we've got the unassigned fund balance that we can pull from to pay for this. We're looking at really a little under 17 grand for this year, right? That we
Yeah,
gotta figure out.
the first year, 16,220, the numbers there, I've got the
Yeah.
quote, he's committed to that.
Is there funding available as well, Malin, or?
We've talked about that, and I've looked at, and we've tried to do FEMA grants. The fire station is not manned 24 hours a day, even though there's a lot of people there, but it has to be more than one person on a 24-hour rotation, so. Back a few years ago, they were doing this because it was beginning to come out that this is a deal, and You know, at that time, they were looking at trying to replace the ladder truck and a pumper and a bunch of other stuff, so this one didn't get done. And now this is not at all a priority unless your station is manned, and unfortunately, we're not. So there's nothing through FEMA where there's something that, you know, we can look at. Toma, they might know, but, you know, I think if we can do the first year, and then maybe next year, we know we can budget it at some, whether it's part of it is ours and part of it is Tim's, or whether there's just a separate thing that we say, okay, look, we've gotta make this payment, and figure out where that's gonna, you know, come from, or how it's gonna affect the entire budget, but.
Yeah, we'll do it, and then, it'll just be another factor that figures in when we renegotiate the fire contracts,
Well, that's, yeah,
There you go.
so. Yeah, I'm in favor of this.
I'm in favor.
So am I.
Absolutely.
What would be the way to go about this? I mean, we still have to figure out the funding. where we're
I'd
gonna-
recommend that can we wait a month or two on this, or is it really,
we.
and I know every day you're sucking a break.
Well, we can, the thing that happens is it's pushing out, you know, installation and them and
If we were, let's just say we were able to do it right away, what are you looking at for install?
they'd be doing it within a couple of months.
Couple months, so the more we wait.
During
we
the,
gotta figure
during
2
the
months out.
summertime, it's easy for us, cause we're gonna have to pull the trucks out. Where if we're, you know, if we waited and started doing it now or pushed it off the fall where the weather got crappy, then.
Payment due when we sign the contract, or payment due when they start the installation?
Sign the contract.
I think when we signed the lease, would be
Says
the
payment-
first one, and that may
payment due at
take a
signing.
month or, you know, thereabouts to get that, because, they wanna see a 2017 audit, and we've gotta get paperwork from the leasing company, and it's gotta come here, you gotta sign it and all that kinda thing, but, you know.
So we
I
probably
think
still have a good month to figure out where to get the money from.
Oh, yeah, I think absolutely.
That's what I
That'll
thought
give us
first.
time.
That, we
So
should be
I-
good then.
I think we should put this on the work session specifically,
Yep.
figure it out,
Okay,
and then line it up for our April meeting.
Yep.
And then we can vote it up or down, once we figure out everything then, and then we should be lined up.
but you should start,
Inquiries.
start, whatever you can do to, move it forward, right?
One way,
Yeah,
one way or
absolutely.
shape or form, we're gonna.
Yeah,
do it.
Yeah, we're gonna do it,
so-
we're just.
Well,
the
I can
monies.
probably have them start the, you know, leasing paperwork, get that from the leasing company, get it so you can look at it.
That'd be perfect.
And I would say, yeah, we're probably not gonna have an official motion or decision until next month, but it's tentatively, yes, we're gonna try to do this and figure out where the money's gonna come from, so that they can start getting that, and if you do it next month and you can sign the lease and everything right there and be ready to go, so.
So we'll work at our end, they need to work at their end, so that by the April meeting, we can
Go forward.
go for it.
I will, call them tomorrow and get that paperwork on its way.
Excellent.
So,
So-
thank you very much, I appreciate that, as well as will our folks, I think.
Yep.
The only other, oops, wait a minute, let me see, that one, yeah, mutual aid plan. Every year, and this is something we've done right along, it's not any big secret, but, we have to sign a mutual aid plan for, mutual aid in and out of the county and interim. I have a letter here, there's a couple of us that are on what we call specialty teams. Jay Riley's a county fire instructor, as well as I, and a deputy fire coordinator. And we've met the criteria. I have copies of our physicals, and I have a copy of our certificate of liability. But the mayor, as the head of the authority having jurisdiction, needs to sign that the village board is aware that we participate in this mutual aid plan, and we do our hose testing, we do our ladder testing, our pump testing, it's all done. So if I can have you sign that, we can get that in. And then you got an email from ESIP in regards to meeting, and that can be whoever, but to meet and go over assets, fire department inspection and all that to start the process of the insurance renewal for ESIP that covers all the fire stuff that we've got, because that's a separate policy because it's so specialized.
Right, yeah, I sat down with McNeil last year about that, I'll do
Yeah.
that.
Is there anything, do you need to vote to participate in the mutual aid plan, or can you just sign this, or how do you wanna do that?
Right,
What do you think that day, is there any need to vote on that?
I was reading about the
signs.
It's okay,
I mean,
mutual aid,
Well, let's
just
do it
that, just
anyhow,
that
it
we
doesn't
participate
hurt.
in the
I'll
mutual aid.
move that we do it.
Alright,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Alright, we voted,
Send the minutes
If you
now.
wanna scribble your,
Send the
I'll do
minutes.
it.
Al McCabe right there on that, and date it.
Watch how I do it, you can start doing it from now on.
Oh, no, we don't.
Nobody
I
can
did
do
any of that.
This is me, huh?
Yep, that bottom line right there, very
I
good.
couldn't do that. Look at that. It's like
Come on,
artwork. It's
right?
like artwork.
There's a lot going on there.
It's like artwork.
Are you a
So,
doctor?
thank you very much for that, and I believe that that's it, unless anybody's got, questions. I've got one other thing that maybe would require a executive session. I don't know how long you think you're gonna be before you're going into that, but
Not long,
not a big issue, so, alright.
so yeah, good, okay.
542.
Oh, yeah, I put that in there, it's been painted,
It's
or was
almost-
going to paint?
It's
yes.
painted. 542, the little rescue truck is almost done. We should see it by the end of the month.
Excellent.
Oh, there's Cody sitting right there. When did-
Right,
He just came in.
Just
Oh,
not
okay.
here.
Cody, good timing.
Perfect.
Yeah?
So, well, first of all, we should, wanna approve,
Make him,
Oh, yeah.
Make a motion to accept fire department report?
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. Cody, before we start with your report, there's a question about who does the inspections after a fire?
Yeah, after a, like structure, you're saying like after a fire department response?
Yes.
That'd be Craig.
He says not him, right?
Yeah, he never did do it. It was Kim Fairchild.
Yeah, that's state law and village law to notify the code enforcement officer. I get paid per diem, so I wouldn't be able to do it anyway.
Well, then it's been done wrong for a long time.
Maybe-
Well,
I guess
my-
we better figure that
But yeah,
out.
that's, it's actually in the village code book, and it's state law as well, that the fire chief notifies code enforcement officer.
I kinda thought maybe, before you even said that you were probably right, because you just did the training,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
it's fresh in your mind. So we'll have to sit down with Craig and talk to him about that. So we don't charge them for a re-inspect after a fire?
No, I don't believe so, that'd be under Craig. He goes and assesses the structural stability, any other hazards, if it needs to be evacuated or condemned.
Okay,
I just go for, hopefully, pre-fire to stop the
Got it.
fire.
roger that, okay.
Okay.
Good, we're still gonna have to get you and Craig to sit down to make sure
Yeah,
everybody's on smooth.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was, we always called Kim Fairchild.
Yeah.
That was the guy that was the code enforcement officer in terms of after fire.
Okay,
Okay.
all right, next, well, before you have to go, Tim.
Yep.
What other issues do you wanna talk about? We'll just jump in real quick if you got specific things.
Things I have left, could easily be dealt with at the work session next,
Okay,
so I'm good. I figure I'm gonna probably hear one more, and then I'll have to.
okay. All right, Cody, it's your first meeting. You get the choice if you want us to read your report or if you wanna present it to us. It's totally up to you.
It was rather simple, just started last month, did one fire inspection, out at the Greenbrier. It's gonna require a re-inspect some minor safety violations. Just trying to get a priority list going. I think maybe if we could somehow spread the word that if businesses are aware that they're out of date, to reach out to the village office and or myself, so we can
Okay.
set them up and we'll do those ones first. Cause I know there's some out of date, but however, we don't have the records easily accessible to.
Got it, all right. So businesses, if they know they're out of date, contact the village offices and we'll get you in touch with Cody.
Yeah.
Cody's email is cjohnson@homerny.org, if you wanna email him directly. So you inspected the Greenbrier, was this one of the first ones that would fall into our new pricing structure?
It would be, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And no issues with that, with them? I wouldn't imagine there would be. Okay, good, excellent. Thank you, and you got your tablet working, excellent. Good,
Cody, is everybody aware of the new pricing structure?
I believe so. Have you put it in the new code? Is it gonna go out with the new code book?
Well, let's get over to Craig, we haven't done fee
Okay.
fines yet.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to go like in the code book, cause it says it's adopted, or it's changed time to time.
we should post on the village website.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
I think you have a PDF of it, right?
Yeah, we do.
is that something the board has to approve?
approve the new fine schedule, the fee schedule. I think we already did that, but we can make another
Can't
motion.
remember, but maybe.
All we did was basically say that if it's a multi-use dwelling or an extra large building, he could charge a little more because he gets paid by the inspection. So if he inspects a small structure, it's $50, but you can't ask him then to go into a multi-use apartment for $50 because it's gonna take him all day. It's not really very fair. So it just increases it, and it wasn't really a large increase at all.
And the other portion of that was the billing and the administration and the record keeping I'm gonna take it off the village office.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it.
That's another reason to do it, because before that was something that we did, and and he's doing that for us now, and so.
Oh, that's great.
It's a great service.
And it's still cheaper than surrounding areas.
Yes, yeah, it's still cheaper than anywhere else, so.
I'll make a motion to accept this report.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, chief, you usually like us to go through yours.
That's correct.
Let's see, 186 calls in February, 5 penal laws arrests, 11 motor vehicle collisions. Well, the new Explorer's coming in. When is the new Explorer going out, or the old Explorer going out?
As soon as it gets decked out and everything else, so it could be probably April.
Okay, and then when that sells, that money will go back into your police car reserve fund. We had the award ceremony. That was very nice.
Two things that jumped out at me though, Chief, was the way you jumped on the school shooting thing and you got proper training aligned and stuff like that.
What's that?
The school shooting thing, the way you got your troops.
Active shooter
Oh,
training.
yeah.
The active shooter
That's
training,
great, I
yes.
wish you did
I
more
was,
of it.
I was very impressed by that.
Thank you,
And then your thing with the arson and the meth lab thing,
thank you.
super.
That was
Oh, yeah.
fantastic.
Super.
The active shooter thing, if any organization wants to give us a call, we'll put that on. I talked to the mayor about doing it for, village and town employees. And,
Good idea.
I'll talk with Malin about doing it with the fire department,
That'd be great. Yeah,
It's a good idea.
so.
absolutely. Yep, we'll do it with the village employees for sure.
I'll make a motion to accept the report.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Recreation. Looks like the summer concert series is fully booked.
Yes, sir.
The Death Star is fully operational.
It's gonna be a good one.
It is a good one.
This is a great lineup.
You guys want me to go through it, or you wanna go through it?
Well, we don't have to go through, we can post it on the website, but
No, I mean the whole report.
the whole report, well, what would you prefer? You give us the highlights. How about you
Alright.
give us the highlights?
So the latest two bookings to close out the series were Stiv Morgan, who is a local, and I believe the other was Casey Max and the Cats. The big ones to look at here are 4th, 5th, and 6th grade basketball teams dominated their respective tournaments, came first place across the board. There's a reason our 6th grade team doesn't play in the rec league, and that's because we got to 35 points and we stopped counting our points. We were just dominating in the area, even in the tournament. So I think we need to find some more competition. We've got some really good coaches.
Come up against the high
It's pretty
schoolers.
cool. Yeah, right. Yeah. One issue is, and I don't know if this is something we talk about now, I'm not supposed to be doing refunds. So people pay me or pay the village, and I have access to the ability to refund people money for various things. And the one thing that I'm coming across is a convenient thing for me to refund is if somebody pays a fee they live in the city of Cortland, like a non-resident fee, and they actually live either in the village or Cortlandville, if they don't enter their address correctly into the system, it'll show them as a non-resident, they get charged $10 more. It's really easy for me to go into the system and just kick it back to them, but I shouldn't be doing that. I don't know if that's something that can be voted on to change, or if it should be, or if it's just something I compile a list every month and send it back, but then the public's waiting, a month to get their money back.
Are we auditing the rec monies, I guess?
We're
'Cause
we're
we
starting
just
to
don't
go
want,
through it now.
somebody to
right?
say
we're
he's
just-
skimming or something.
You know, we're
which I
just
know it's
now
not.
getting into the rec desk reports, and that money hits a special credit card account, which has to be reconciled with
Right.
the rest of our accounting, so giving refunds, I don't know, we really gotta talk with council about that.
Okay. We'll have to figure it out. I mean, as far as the separation, we can figure out a way. Probably we would just give Kristen access to rec desk, and then at the end of each week, you could submit a list to her in that way. But as far as the accounting part of it, we'll have to talk with.
Sure.
Let's, address this at our work session, and then we'll come up with a plan for the next one, in case we have to vote on something.
I think as it stands now, I've got maybe 20 people to send back $10 to.
Do you?
So in the past, it had been, they've just let me know, or I can actively see them come in, and I'd go right to the credit card processing company and kick the money back and correct their address for them. I've got the zoning map on there, so I can see. We've got people up on like Wolf Road, I think it is, who are technically in the town of Homer, but they have a Cortland address, so those kinds of things come up.
Yeah, my friend lives.
Right.
Yeah.
Drive safe,
She
my
did the same
friend.
thing. Yeah, Tim, drive safe.
Jelly bean jars over at the library, so give it your best guess. It's a lot of jelly beans. Easter egg hunt's gonna be March 31st, 12 o'clock noon when the fire horn blows. I won't be there for that. I'll be towards the city celebrating Passover. So we've got, Kevin's gonna do most of the work for us. Kevin from DPW, he's volunteered to do that. And if anybody would like to help him, I'll send out an email to the masses to kind of recruit some people if they want to help. Put the eggs out there. He's gonna put the signs up. And Kristen's gonna get the jelly beans from the library at 10 o'clock and bring them over to announce it. So it's mostly taken care of, but if anybody wants to help, that'd be nice.
It's an amazing thing, it takes 30 seconds, and the field is clean.
That's what I've heard.
30 seconds, yeah,
Yeah.
it's amazing.
That's most of the things I have. Our rec desk has been really popular for our T-ball program. We have 51 signups or more as of right now, and that's within the first week or two of being live. So that's working very well.
Good.
We're gonna run Babe Ruth this year. I was worried we weren't going to have a league to play, and we're gonna play with Quad County and Ithaca. It's a lot of the same teams we play against in basketball, so that'll be good. I think that's mostly everything I've got.
Excellent.
Oh, no, it's not. Sorry. The football equipment.
Oh yeah, that's what I was just looking at.
Right. So I spoke with Casey Slade. He's the head coach. He's going to be the head coach of the sixth grade team. And the other thing is I spoke to the church for selling refreshments during the concerts. They gave me the idea that it's going to be okay. They just wanted to check with their board first. So
Refreshments, but not alcoholic refreshments.
sure, exactly. And football needs new equipment, so it's a no-brainer that the Homer Football Club comes in during that time and sells stuff. And
Right.
I don't know if I can, limit it to just them, or if I have to let everybody come in, or
No. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't have to. You
All
don't
right.
have to do anything.
Okay.
It's an event that we're putting on.
Right.
So.
Because we're gonna need $10,000 in helmets minimum next year.
Okay.
This year we're playing third graders in tackle football, which is what they've done in the past. They stopped doing it for a while, so they're gonna need equipment.
Right.
And we need to, and I don't know about this, but talking about the split of who's paying for what. Village of Homer is paying for this much stuff, and does the Homer Football Club pay for some amount of it? To take your, experience on that. I don't know.
We'll have to give that some thought. Can you put
Okay.
together some numbers for us and
Certainly.
stuff like that
Yeah.
that we can look at?
Yep.
That'll be a good thing for the work session, I think.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll do that at the work session.
Certainly.
Zach?
Oh, right. That was not on my list. The fencing is, the fencing project at Griggs Field for the foul ball netting, really. We're gonna do it in 2 stages if we need to go to stage 2. Stage 1 is extending the fencing on the 2 larger fields, to enable netting to be pulled down farther down the foul ball line and higher. If it comes to stage 2, if it's not sufficient, what we're gonna do is then research more of a dome netting situation. Everybody kinda thinks this is gonna be sufficient. I'm a little skeptical. I think it's gonna, solve most of the problems, but probably not all of them. And with this, the infrastructure will be in place to move to stage 2, so I think it's okay for now.
Good.
And if, by all means, if anybody thinks otherwise, we can jump straight to stage 2.
No, I think you guys did a good job.
And, huge thanks to Kevin. He went out and did his homework for it, without I didn't have to ask him to do anything, so it's really cool.
Great. Okay.
I'll recommend we accept the report as written.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Alright. Buzz is, not here. His sister passed away, so we'll go through this, some repairs and meters. They replaced 30 meters, so now the village, we're replacing our own meters. We've skipped, the middleman, and then we'll be getting reimbursed by the city from the grant for the work that we're doing, because the vendor that we had replacing them wouldn't replace galvanized pipe meters, so we will. So, that's good for us. It's more money that comes to us that we can use to buy more meters and get all of these meters replaced quicker.
I'm beginning to think that when we do this next year, we just
Oh, yeah,
have our own guys do it.
yeah, oh, yeah, there's no,
I know, I got it galvanized in my house.
yeah, we're not mucking around with these vendors anymore. They've just been a headache. Let's see, and I know they have been working on the, rerouting that water line around the fire station. So that's good, that's a big project. Alright. Any questions on this?
I'll make the motion we accept the written.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes. Alright. That's it. Privilege of the floor.
We have a fire
Right,
department.
what?
That's under new business. Ed.
Oh,
I was thinking the same thing
Oh,
myself.
yeah, you're right. Duh.
Guys. Alright, privilege of anyone here to, no? Kinda know everybody in the room, alright? Next up, new business, approval of volunteer fighter application.
They look pretty good to me.
Well, I would hope so.
Yeah, I would think so.
So, this is to approve, Homer Village Police Officer Matt Compton to be a volunteer firefighter as well. I think that's pretty much a no-brainer.
That's pretty wild.
Can I get a motion?
Double.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Alright, you guys wanna wrestle for it?
No,
All in
we
favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Unanimous.
absolutely.
Alright, we gotta approve the Ames Linen 5-year contract.
See the contracts in there, you also see a recent invoice. And also there's payments from about the last 5 years or so of how much we've been spending on Ames Linen. It runs about $5,000 a year.
My goodness.
I don't see any way around it. I don't know, what are you gonna
It
do?
just seems like an awful lot of money to,
It does.
clean
I
rugs.
say that every week.
Is there anybody else that does this?
I don't think so.
I can tell you it's nice in the fire station, they do a decent job bringing them in, picking them up, dropping them off, they're clean, that helps a lot, especially in the wintertime like now.
It's not just rugs, they're, dust mops,
Right. Yep.
rags for streets and sewer and water.
Okay.
It's
You squeezed a penny. You think this is all right?
You know, you might find somebody Unitas or somebody like that, but I don't know, my guess is that they're gonna be no more competitive than these guys.
Okay. Sounds fine to me then.
Yeah, you know, I use them as well on a much smaller scale, but every time pay that bill, I said, can I do this myself?
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion, we accept and have the mayor sign it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Well, your silence was.
Yeah, it was,
I know you don't. Nobody likes to pay these bills. All right, shared services agreement. We already did this, right? Oh no, wait. This is
No,
the
we
one.
have to.
Okay, this is the other one. Right. So this is something that we came up with to alleviate some of the strain that the tax collection puts on the town and puts on the village, where they can loan us a person when we're short-staffed and volume is heavy, we can loan them one, and basically we just keep tabs on the hours that our person is shared, and then at the end we settle it up.
Makes perfect
That's
sense
great.
to me.
It's fantastic. It's the town and the village are working very well together. I'll show you guys later if you want, but they tore out all the seats. Have you been upstairs since
Oh,
they
yeah.
tore all out? There's a lot of room up there. So I went up with Fred the other day, and there's gonna be room to put some offices, possibly, definitely storage. There's a lot of room up there. So he talked about even maybe moving his and my offices up there since we're not here as often, and then we can open up other room down here, so.
with the shared services, Dante, do we need to read this or anything?
I haven't seen a copy of it. Is it the same one? Is it the same one we had last month?
Yeah.
Oh, did you add that? There's something I asked you to add in.
Yeah, the reciprocating, or payment, I forget.
I forgot what I told you to add last month. It was a
Yeah,
month
I
ago.
changed it to what
Okay.
you wanted, what you suggested.
The supervisory, was that it?
It was the
Yes,
supervisor,
supervisor,
yeah.
yep.
Yes, under the- Right.
Yeah, this is good.
I see that the town's already signed, so I make a motion
Have it.
that we move forward with this and have the mayor sign the agreement.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. All right, the next thing is the tree contract.
We have also about 5 years of payments to Defoe. You'll see that starting from 13, I think that's what I have. 13 started with a payment of about $6,900 for the year, and it's gone up to $47,500 as of this past year. So it progressively went up. And again, there's just a basic contract, and as Mike said, it was extended 2 years ago. So I included an invitation to bid. I found a line from the village of Pelham, and you'll see how a little more in-depth that this unit price contract is. I don't believe we have a unit price contract with Defoe at this time.
Well, I'd like to defer this to the work session so I can study it. It's too much for me to handle
Yeah.
at this meeting.
Let's do that, because this is a long
You want
session.
to spend on it.
Dan, when does our current contract expire?
I do not know. I don't know. I haven't found the extension dates.
We can extend it by
I
one.
believe
or
your
something like
contract's
that.
expired, the one he signed was in July of 2014, I'm pretty sure. It's only a 2-year contract. And then it got extended. Do you,
Extended to what?
exactly.
Okay.
Alright, well, that takes care of that. Well, we got another item for the work session.
It'll be a long day.
And I guess you guys must have a different contract than what I have. I have the July 2014 contract. Is that?
I don't have that one.
I don't have that contract.
Okay. This is just kind of a copy. It's not, nobody's actually signed it, but this is kind of. And then I did ask Steve if he had a copy of his contract, but he's not in town, so I can't really get information on him right now, so.
Yeah, we're gonna have to move that to the work session, there's just too much to be able to analyze it right now.
the one that Buzz did.
It's pretty comprehensive, this.
Yeah, this
I
one
see you've got something different.
Oh, yeah, it's a good quarter inch of paper.
Wow.
Yeah, it's 22 pages. Yeah.
Dan, are you keeping track of what we have
Maybe
for
we
the
can
work
make me a
session?
copy of that too, or something.
I think so.
Okay.
All right, the next item, 3 resolutions that need to be acted on, and the first one is the reason that Chris risked life and limb to drive down here. Is there anything you want to kind of, since, let's see, who was in?
You guys talked about sewer since the last time I was here, probably 6 months ago.
We talk about it, but the only people that were, who was in that? Were you on the call? It was just you and me, right? Or was, no, it was just you and, yeah.
With Terry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Kevin doesn't know, and we might as well kind of go through it, but it's it's the sewer contract that we're, the water and sewer contract that we're working on, and this is the next step, because we are gonna move forward with it. Think we're gonna qualify for either all no interest loans or almost all no interest loans, and possibly some grants, so, but
Well, yeah, I think since last time I was there talking, you guys had hired someone to do an income survey.
Yes.
And from what I understand from talking to Jay Grasso, the results have been pretty good, where you've gotten below the statewide medium household averages for a few of the funding agencies, which is great, means you can get these low interest loans. And the key next step is he's at like 50.3% for low to moderate income for what is called CDBG grants, which is community development block grants, and you need 51. So he said last week, he may have already been out there, but he's gonna go back out, he figures he only needs like 20 more houses, and there's a big list of non-replies that he's got, so, which is great, because that opens up a whole other door of annual grants that you can get on a yearly basis. That's a pretty good program. So we had talked on the phone about, with a funding agency, and said, okay, what do we need to do to really bring this to the next step? And as you all are aware, the consolidated funding application process opens every spring for about 2 months. And one of the funds that we want to apply for actually requires a few steps to be taken before you can actually hit submit on the button. And that is the SEQR, State Environmental Quality Review process. You may have been through that with other projects, you may not have. It's basically you saying to all the involved and interested agencies, DEC, neighboring villages, here's our project, here's the metrics and characteristics of it. We want to be lead agency moving forward. Look at this information and agree that you're okay with us taking the lead on it. And what that prevents is that people get to look at it. Let's say you wanted to do a river project, and the DEC would look at it and be like, no, this is under our jurisdiction, you can't take the lead on it. So it's this kind of like, let everyone know what you're doing, here's the game plan, first step. So I don't know if you printed these out, Dan, these are the ones that I said I was gonna provide, because there's a lot of paper here. So really all it is, you don't need to really go through it right now, it's just the metrics of, how many,
We have one more for,
oh yeah.
Tim.
oh, for Tim, yeah.
And I'll give you one too. There will be a couple steps to this, so I'll have to come back next month. So what you do is you take this and you send it out to all the interested and involved agencies. Dan has a list of those. And you pass a resolution saying, hey, we wanna be, lead agency. And then we come back in a month and we actually sit down and we go through a whole nother section called part 2, and that actually has questions that the board has to consider and answer. Does this have effect on sound? Does this have effect on architecture? Does this have effect on, there's 12 or 13 categories. And after that, and in addition to not hearing from any of the agencies, which you probably won't, other than, hey, we're okay with it, then you actually pass what's called a negative declaration. The board has another resolution that says, we deem there's no significant impact to the environment, and SEQR is closed at that point. In any big capital project, when someone that opposes it has money and an attorney, and Article 72 is usually the first step, and that shuts a project down. We don't think you did your seeker right. So you wanna take the time to kinda go through this and make sure that you guys cover all your bases. Once you start a project, they're gonna ask, is seeker done? You're gonna say yes, and then you could pass a bond resolution, and that just means that you obligate the ability to borrow money up to a certain amount of that project. You don't actually borrow it yet, you just have that bond resolution. These are the two steps that are needed to apply for this grant funding in the spring. And between this taking a month, bond resolution taking about 45 to 50 days, we're gonna be to May real quick. And then that window will open, and we'll be ready to apply for that. So, you probably won't do anything in terms of a project till next year. I mean, you may go forward with, beginning to design this year, but you won't actually do anything until 2019. But at least this spring grant will hear in the fall, and by that time, you may have done some, design for it, and then you can actually put it on the street when you hear, probably this time in 2019, so.
Excellent.
I got a question. Is this I&I, are we gonna be tearing up the roads at all, or is it just gonna be
We're trying to do
kinda
all,
underneath? Cause he's paving roads, and I
Yeah.
hate to see him pave it.
and I heard that, and I wanna sit down with a map.
Freaking out a
It's
little
gonna
bit.
be-
Yeah, so I probably should get together with you real quick. There's a map at the back of this, I'll give you this copy.
Okay.
That won't
Manholes,
stop us.
manholes is gonna be the big thing. They have, we don't have the number on this right now, but hold on, I think I just saw it. 433 manholes that are gonna be rehabilitated. So that doesn't mean you're gonna be replacing them. Each manhole was inspected, and there's a different strategy for each one. Some are just gonna be coated, some are gonna be raised in new frames. But I know what we're gonna do on every one, so the sooner you have that, probably the better.
Yeah.
The open cut portion of it, which you're referring to, is a replace sewer, is gonna be minimal. They're,
On
the
Xenos.
plan is to really line everything with trenchless technologies. There
Unless
may
you
be a
find
few,
something that's really bad.
there may be a few, but yeah, you're right, you don't wanna go back. A lot of the manhole technology that we're doing now, where we have to replace them, have you ever seen the Mr. Manhole? That's drilled, it's a big core drill, and it drills right down through, around the manhole, pulls the manhole out, you replace it. The only thing is you have kind of a little concrete apron around the manhole, which actually helps to some degree protect the manhole. So I think we could probably come with it.
Yeah, I'll definitely need to know.
Yeah, we have several maps. If Buzz hasn't shared those with you yet, I can get you new ones. And
Has Buzz got all this stuff?
Buzz has the whole report. He's got
Okay, well,
a
I can
handful
just
of
get-
large maps that we have are probably a year old now, but I don't mind starting a dialogue with you if you want to go
Yeah.
through Hal. We can meet any week and just kind of go through.
Just like NICEAG and just what I just went through with them, you know, we're making plans to pave roads and here they're making plans to cut them, so,
I
yeah.
know. Yeah, we wanna try to.
Yeah,
This is an important project, it's gonna save the village a ton of money.
Will save us a lot. Bruce was saying that, when it's wet and rainy, we have 100% I&I. So we double our amount of sewer
Yeah.
that we send to the city, double what we're pumping in water.
I think your peaking factor is almost a 6,
Yeah.
so it's almost 600%. You're normal.
Well, that makes it even worse.
Yeah.
So
I'm for this.
the only thing we may run into, and this is no one will know this, is before they do any sewer project, we cambered a small section with the grant we got. But the first step, we get a contractor on board and we say, you're gonna camera everything that you're gonna line. So they go through the whole village with their own camera. And sometimes they actually say, oh, look, you know, the whole top of this sewer main is crushed, it's flowing over. So the only action you really need to do is the one resolution here.
Right.
And then Dan can send out the letters and to all the agencies here after that.
Do we have to read it and then do it, or how do we do this?
Generally, we read it. I can read it. I don't mind going through it if you want me to do it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I've read enough of these. They
right on
read
the
like
agenda.
stereo instructions, but. Resolution declaring the intent of the Village of Homer to act as lead agency, whereas the Village of Homer is proposing the Village of Homer Sewer System Improvement Project located in the Village of Homer, Cortland County, New York. Whereas the project has been classified as a type 1 action as defined by the State Environmental Quality Review Act of 6 New York CRR Part 617.4. Whereas in the intent of the Village of Homer Village Board to assume the role as lead agency for purposes of conducting the seeker SERP assessment of the project. Whereas Part 1 of the full environmental EAF environmental assessment form has been completed, reviewed by the Village Board, and will be circulated to all involved and interested agencies for the purpose of establishing the Village of Homer Board as lead agency in accordance with 6 New York CR Part 617, 6B. Be it resolved, therefore, be it resolved and determined that the mayor of the Village of Homer hereby is authorized to sign Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form, and further be it resolved and determined that the Village of Homer will send Part 1 of the full environmental assessment form and associated figures to the attached list of interested involved agencies under cover of a notice of intent to establish lead agency letter for purposes of establishing lead agency under the seeker SERP. And it is further resolved that the mayor of the Village of Homer and the Village Board, together with the Village of Homer attorney and B&L, are hereby authorized to take all actions, serve all notices, and complete all documentation required to give full force and effort to this determination. And then you guys can vote on that.
I'll make a motion.
Second,
Discussion?
let's get it
It's
done.
the right
Yeah.
thing to do, it should have been done years ago.
This is good. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay.
What is it? As an outsider, I have no idea what you're talking about. I can't.
It's,
Water infiltrates through the sewer lines.
Sure.
And when it rains, it can go up to like 1.7 million gallons. We normally pump 400,000 to 600,000 gallons a day for your water. Now, if you didn't breathe it out and your dog didn't go out and bring it outside, but you assume what you pumped went into the sewer, we should be paying Cortland 600,000 gallons to fix that water before they send it back out in the TF Neoga. On rainy days, it's 1.7 that they have to process, and they charge us, residents in Homer, for that money. And so if we can stop all that infiltration, we could probably pay for this project just in stopping the infiltration. Was that clear enough?
Yeah, absolutely.
There's two ways that water gets into your sewer. Either direct inflow, which is, let's say there's a manhole and
Too
the
low.
top's broken off, water's just going in from the surface. Or the groundwater's really wet and every joint, every 10, 15, 20 feet leaks water into it. You're not in a dry area, you've got a river right next to your village.
Water cable's only 10, 13 feet below, so.
So you fix the manholes and you stop water from directly going in, and then you can actually pull a liner through the sewer mains and cure it in place, and then that solidifies that, so.
Save us a lot of money.
And you know, your infrastructure's to the point where it's, you know, it's not, stuff doesn't get better as it gets older. It only gets worse. So it's a good time.
Put it in the 60s. Normal sewer pipes, from what I've read, last 75 to 115 years, and ours is 57, if you assume 1960 is some of the initial parts. So we're getting up there, so he's absolutely correct.
A lot of the old pipe was clay and it was joints every 4 feet.
Wow.
So you have a
We have
leak
no
every
idea.
4 feet.
Philadelphia's still using wooden pipes from the Revolutionary War area. Still working, believe it or not.
And there is a lot of money out there right now, and that's what we're trying to get, so. That's
Right.
Okay, we voted on it, right?
Dan, if you need anything from me,
Yep, I'll let
give
you
me a
know.
call.
You
I'll
got it.
actually leave all this with you because I don't need to bring this back, so if you need extra copies, they're here.
Yeah, just drop right there. Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, Chris.
All right, guys,
for coming
thank
out
you.
with us.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
Drive safe.
I'll call you in a couple
Yeah.
weeks and we'll just plan on the next meeting.
Okay, thank you. Drive safe. Okay, the next,
He really knows what he's talking about.
yeah, he does. He does. He's really good to work with. And, Ed's gonna buy me a steak dinner for being wrong about that, income resurvey.
I think I am on the hook
Yeah,
for that.
you are.
I never thought you'd do it.
It's okay.
I've been wrong many times, and I admit.
And we now have that on,
You got that in a minute?
I can admit
It's on the camera.
I can admit it.
Green Arch is a great New York strip.
That's one of my favorites, but he'll probably go for the porterhouse.
let's move on.
All right, the next,
So he's hungry.
the next, item, to reestablish the position of village clerk assistant part-time, so, take a step back, we're looking at bringing in some part-time help. When Buzz lost some people at the sewer department, including Babette and others, they
Didn't lose
didn't.
her, she retired.
Well, right.
I mean,
she
you know,
retired.
they're-
Well, it's still a loss, right? It's still a
Yeah,
loss.
I know, but people
Uh,
are watching.
okay. Right. They weren't replaced, and I think that he would benefit from having a part-time admin person to help him with reporting, record keeping, purchase orders, invoicing, all that stuff, as well as Mr. Harder.
You can have some help
Right,
with that.
and so, this would be sort of to help them out, and then also it would be another person in the office just to help answer phone calls and things like that, so.
Maybe help on our, what paperwork we got buried too.
Right, so we were thinking probably, Monday through Friday, maybe 10 to 3. That way someone who maybe, had kids that they needed to put on the bus and take off the bus could do that and also work, so that's what this is for. So, it's just a resolution to reestablish it. We're not filling it by doing this. We'll talk about that in executive session, but this is just to reestablish it if we want to do that. So whereas the Homer Village Board desires to reestablish a village clerk assistant part-time, and whereas the village clerk assistant part-time is duly needed, now therefore be it resolved that the position of village clerk assistant part-time is hereby reestablished, and the duties of the village clerk assistant part-time will be those outlined in the New York State village law and or as determined by the mayor and the village board. And then we can talk about the ins and outs and whether we wanna go ahead with it in executive session.
Okay.
Or here, depending on
I'll
whatever you
make
guys
a
wanna
motion
do.
that we do it.
Second.
Any discussion? You wanna wait till executive session, talk about it now? Doesn't really matter.
I'm all for it.
I'm good.
We established an hourly rate.
No, that's probably what we should do in executive session. But, so all in favor of this?
Aye.
Unanimous, okay. Finally, the resolution to declare April Fair Housing Month. Whereas in accordance with the Title VIII Fair Housing Policy of the Civil Rights Act of 1968 and the Fair Housing Amendments Act of 1988, and whereas the month of April 2018 has been designated by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development Office of Fair Housing and Equal Opportunity as Fair Housing Month, now therefore be resolved that the Village Board of the Village of Homer hereby declares and proclaims April as Fair Housing Month in the village. Good
I'll make the
thing.
motion to accept that.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Mr. Dante, anything before executive session?
No, you guys do have authority to take down those signs pretty clearly. You actually need a permit for most of your signs. If you don't wanna put up signs depending on the district, but these are all non-conforming signs, so.
Oh, right. Right. So Chief brought by our, hopefully, right, well, we already voted for it, right?
Yes, we did.
Did you vote for it?
Did we?
As far as I know.
Okay.
For fire?
What's that?
No, for Dana, for,
That's
be our new
replacing Evan
full-time.
Dino.
No, we didn't vote for that.
No, we didn't.
No.
well, we'll do it now.
What's going on?
So, go ahead, Chief.
Evan Nino resigned, Officer Nino resigned full-time. Dana Smith, last year we started part-time with us, went through the training on his own. We helped him with his field training, and now he's reachable on a civil service list for a full-time position, and recommended hiring him full-time.
Your
You've been great.
recommendation is good with me.
You moved into the village, right?
Yep.
Wow.
Right?
Yes, sir.
Damn.
Come on! I love it.
I'm from Groton. I went through high school there till about halfway through my junior year, then moved to Dryden, finished out there. Went to TC3, got my criminal justice degree, and then like Chief said, I put myself through the Casnovi Academy, and now I'm looking forward to working for the village.
So we just need to, vote to approve him as our newest full-time
I'll make the motion.
officer.
Second.
Yeah, any discussion? welcome aboard.
Thank you guys, thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Yes, congratulations.
The fact that you're washing the cars.
Very, very glad to have them.
Thank you.
All right, great.
All right. Anything else? Comments from board members? Pat, you've always got a long list.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Wow,
I
all
got-
right.
I got one though.
All right,
I'll need your help on this a little bit. Resident's name is Jim Jeffalone. He came to me because his wife passed away. He lives on One Brown Drive. And due to his income, it put him over a certain amount. Therefore, he wasn't eligible for a certain reduction in his assessment. Maybe you got a letter.
I got a letter, and so we're gonna, see, he's got a thing, Pat and I already discussed this. No, I got it, We'll give it
One for Dante.
To me, when you're saying you wanna be aging in place, there was a different rate between the village and the town. And I think the county was the same as the town. But you're more or less being penalized for living in the village.
Yeah,
It should be the same all the way across.
we need to fix this.
So how do we go about doing it?
So Kevin, what we're doing is so essentially, we don't have all the numbers yet, but we're getting them. Just was brought up, and from the assessors, essentially it's a scale. And ours ends at 16.2, and the town and county goes up to 20,200. So we are not in line with the town and county. We're looking at doing that, and we just got some numbers today from the assessor that's gonna help us to, I think, once we get all the details, I think it just makes sense for us to get in line with the town and county.
Exactly.
And so so we don't make any rash decisions, but I think we're gonna have enough information so that we can probably make a decision by the next board meeting. And I think Dan said we just have to make this decision before July 1st, correct?
Correct.
And that'll take effect. We can't affect what's in place right now, but we can affect, going forward, as long as we get it done by July 1st, which should not be a problem.
Yes.
One other thing I wanted to comment on, because I was talking to Don, when you were able, because of being located back in the town hall, just go over and talk to the assessor's office.
Right,
Which is real,
that is convenient,
Which is very convenient.
yes.
So that, anyways,
Anything else?
he came to me and I told him I'll see what I can do.
Yes, and he wrote a letter, a very nice letter, and I happened to be with Pat in my office when I read it, and we talked about it, and it seemed like a thing that we needed to fix. Yes.
And he came in, he
Just
didn't-
for go ahead.
he came in and asked about it when he paid his taxes. And I said, well, really, the best thing to do is write a letter to the mayor. He says, well, I don't really wanna write a letter. If you don't write the letter, you won't get results. And so he did.
Yeah, it was great, and
And he knows how to express himself very well.
we'll fix it,
And it's, it's past due.
Yes, it is best to.
Yeah, but if we don't know about it, if we're not
Right.
tracking it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
Cause that'll help other people too.
It'll help other people, I think Dan got a list from the assessor that it also, would affect positively 8 veterans that live in the village.
7 veterans
Seven
and
veterans
26 other
And
seniors.
26 other seniors, so, all right.
I attended a county planning meeting down at the auditorium the other night for 4 hours, and a lot of the material was, hot buttons on zoning and that stuff, and I've given my synopsis to the board and the paperwork that came with it. They also had an aging in place thing, and they also had like a synopsis of some legal decisions that Dante may or may not care about, because he probably already has them. But anyhow, we're trying to stay on top of what's going on in the community. That's it.
All right, can we get a motion to go into executive session to discuss?
I'll make the motion to go into executive session.
Second?
For
real estate and personnel issues. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Alright, unanimous, thanks.